right over here.
King Harmit Sudaikomyo. Good to be back. We've already had a couple of training sessions here at Uppsala. I remember it felt so far, so that's good. Thanks for everybody for coming out. A lot of familiar faces. So on that, let's just let's get training. Where's my buddy? So let's just go from a punch, right, and just have the idea of moving ourselves here, right? And then from there, just bringing this up a little bit, right? And then we've got the opportunity to just have a little bit, just very light. All right, so I'm gonna just kind of idea of letting it sail past a little bit, and then from there, taking it and then being able to move everywhere, and keeping not to really fight this guy, not putting up any resistance. It's just gotta fit, mesh, synchronize perfectly. This is the goal. Okay? Okay, get that quick try. Kind of your mentality a little bit when you're doing this. Don't have the idea of trying to do anything directly to the person. I mean, right from the beginning. He punches, and I just let that kind of sail past me. There's really no interaction between me and him. However, from here, then, now everything's kind of finished and done. Right? Can you see that? So from the beginning, what I'm not trying to do is match and see the problem I've got. Okay. So I just kind of want to let that here, and then just let that sail past, right? And then there's nothing there. Now it's done. Now I can do pretty much anything I want to do. And I'm okay, right? But it's really all taken care of right from that very first piece. If you try to too directly go for something, even if he's not trained, he's going to have a natural defensive response to that. So that's not what I'm doing. I'm very much just letting it be. Wherever he was going to go, I'm letting him go there. I'm just putting myself now in the best possible place I can based upon where he is going to be. See the difference? Okay, try that. But the idea, again, whenever, just getting off that line, right? Don't leave this leg here. If you keep coming, my leg's going to get trapped and I'm going to be on the ground, right? So pretend he's just a big bus and I need to get out of the way there, right? Let the bus go sailing past you. So that's one idea. The second thing is, don't be here, right? Again, if he keeps coming, I've got no ability to really do anything about that. So I want to be able to be here. Right? Or I could potentially, if I wanted to, I can resist that. Right? You see the difference? Okay, so that type of idea is having good structured line. From there, again, it's just, just a matter of whatever I want to do is an option for me. I'm not grabbing, he's the one grabbing. Right? He's just trying to hold on for dear life at this point. Right? I'm really doing nothing. Just gently guiding him to where he's structured. Okay? Okay. So again, put yourself in the best, again, it's location, location, location. Be in the right spot. And if you're going to be in the right spot, also have the right stance. And what I mean by stance is not necessarily so deep on ichimonji. It's a matter of just having good, proper kamae/balance. Okay? Be in the right place with a good kamae. Make that your one and only focus. Okay, try that. Not having any wasted motion, right? So once we're here, boom, I've got myself to this place, I've got a little bit of tiny contact here, a little bit, and my very next move needs to do something to him. Can you see that? Right, there's nothing wasted there. That's very different than I'm here and I go to here. Well, nothing happened to him, right? I made all this movement and nothing happened to him. So again, when I see Soke doing what he does, always, 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 as soon as Soke bats an eyelash, something's happened to his combine. I mean, there's nothing wasted there, right? So really, I want to get that same idea where it's, yeah, see, just that little bit, and nothing's really changed, but his combine is broken. His combine is basically fucked, pardon my language. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, again, it's not a matter of grabbing, holding it, and getting things fixed, because really that's going to work against you. But I want to, let me bar him here. So it's going to be much more important with a bigger guy like here. So he punches. I've got to basically just have that little bit, and then there's this very tiny contact there. And from here, see how it just starts to destructure him, just that little bit. Then from there, I can get in and cover, right? So the ideas I'm going to try to convey, the principles, when it gets to this scenario, they're that much more important, you know. As soon as I grab a hold of him, even just stay where you're at. You know, once I get to this point, really, who's got who? You know, it may look like, okay, I got some wonderful too, but the reality is he's got me as much as I've got him at that point. It's not a good place for me to be. Okay, so you really, this is the way you got to think. You got to take whatever these principles and magnify it out to, okay, now I'm dealing with this guy, you know, and he's not happy. Right? That type of scenario, okay? Okay, give us a go. Principles at you. So, sorry if I overload your brain. So again, you can't have that feeling of confrontation. If I'm here and it's like, boom, you know, see how we're kind of running into each other? That's what we want to completely avoid. And it's not for her benefit, it's for my own sake. My primary goal is I just want to keep and maintain my combine. Anything bumps into me, anything potentially gets attached to that, there's a chance that my combine is going to get disrupted. So if I'm here and she goes, I'm just going to let that almost slide past me. Yeah, she's almost falling, right? Because she doesn't get the feedback that she expects. So therefore, she's punching, she thinks she's going to hit something solid, and when that doesn't quite happen, she's left a little bit mentally and physically unsettled. And this is what Soke takes advantage of. He'll lightly attach some sort of sensor on there, gets to that point, and he's lightly attached to something there, and then he just drags it just past where she wanted it to be. Right? That type of idea. Okay? So avoid getting in a fight. Again, the basic kind of idea, again, the only way not to lose a fight is don't get in a fight. Any other way, no matter how good a fighter you are, there's always going to be somebody out there that's bigger, stronger, faster, more technically proficient, or just somebody who's luckier in any given moment. So why take the chance? Don't fight. Okay? Okay. Concept, or kind of one way of kind of looking at this, again, it's like catching an egg, right? Patrick throws an egg, throws an egg. I'm not going to go, oh, you know, and the egg's going to break in my hand, right? Most likely. So he throws the egg to me. Yeah, I need to catch the egg, right? I need to decelerate the egg to minimize the impact on the egg. Now what you're going to do is think of your kamae as the egg, right? So when he's punching, yeah. When he's punching, I don't want to do this, because see, now there's a good chance that I might break the egg, right? So what I need to do is that same idea of let that, yeah, now he's falling. Right, see the difference? Even here, and I'm not giving him the chance to grab onto anything solid there. He's got a hold of my jacket, but there's nothing in the jacket for him, right? It's like you can imagine, you know, you're in a burning building and there's a rope hanging over here, and you're going to jump out and grab the rope, but as soon as you grab a hold of the rope, it's actually not touching anything. That's the feeling you need to have, right? He grabs onto something, it's really not connected to anything else, so he's got nothing, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so throw this idea, so let's do a specific thing. So we're here, one idea I want you to have is, again, don't change your upper body, move, in effect, this kamae. Then once something's happened, it's kamae break, then I can change, right? Right? And from there. Just create that piece real quick. Don't go, there's no need to go farther than that. If you can't do that, the rest is all shit. Sorry to be so frank, but I mean, really, without that, the other stuff really doesn't matter. Okay, so do that first. Again, for me, is 100% accurate. It's exactly what we're talking about. So you want to repeat what you just said? And you can do it in Swedish, of course. Not the dampening.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Have a tendency when you're getting correct here, and when you're moving in, you're actually collapsing yourself like this when you're moving into it. So the feet is not, it's kind of moving in like a statue that is so it's easier to take them away. That's it.
Right. And you skipped the first part. So, yeah, it's okay. So we were saying again, when he's coming in, there's a certain, you're punching, right? If I'm here, I'm kind of running in. If he's a big guy, again, it's a losing proposition for me because, he's just got a lot more mass. So I have to be able to kind of, again, catch that egg and draw him out there. Yeah, he's starting to be on his toes just that little bit. So there's that first initial dampening of the force that's coming at you, right? Kind of like a little bit of a shock absorption or something like that. Then the point that Roger's talking about, once I get down to here, now I got to do exactly the opposite, and I don't want to dampen because nothing's happened to him, right? I've moved, so that's wasted motion. So then, once I've got that initial very soft, gentle contact, then this upper body almost, I hate to have the idea of a block, but yeah, it becomes much more firm, and then every movement I make is very directly, what do I want to say? What's the word? Transferred. Thank you. Goddamn. The longer I live in Japan, the less I can speak English. Yeah, everything I do gets transferred or transmitted through there very effectively. So then as he punches, it's here, right? Very light, and then just that little bit, you see how much has happened from a little bit of movement from me. Then once this snap line is broken, then I can do something should I wish to, right? But that very first piece, you're really not doing anything. You've got whatever, I've got whatever the first contact is. I don't want to change my arms. I want to move me, not my arms, right? Take your first structure, whatever that is, and don't change anything from the waist up. Move that. Then now I can change. I get my first structure. Don't change anything here. Make a move. Now I can change. All right? See the difference? Okay. Give that a try. Bang, I'm punching you. Just slowly. No. I'm punching you. Do the same thing. So it's going to be here. This next guy's just going to be here. Every single time. Especially this day and age, people are watching all the different MMA and this, that, and the other. They're looking, and again, of course, you speed that up, it's going to be even worse. It's going to be, this dude's going to be here, and boom, and this guy's going to have no chance whatsoever. He's going to be on his ass every time, in my opinion. Again, it's not picking on you. I think a lot of people moving on that side here, and they're here. And in my opinion, you've left your transportation system behind. So what I'm saying is, keep your legs underneath you. Sounds commonsensical. I would hope it does, right? What I see Soke doing, he's not taking these commands. Every once in a while for a picture, sure. But when he's really doing whatever he's doing, he never does that. He's always in Shizen no Kamae, or a very slight variation of Shizen no Kamae, momentarily, and then he's right back to Shizen no Kamae. So everything's very natural. He doesn't have that idea. So who's somewhat MMA-ish? You're pretty athletic. So first slow, right? I'm here, and then get the feeling that you're going to dive under and take my leg, right? Okay, see what's going to happen there. Now if I do it more correctly, right? Now how easy it is to go for my leg. I've got plenty of opportunity. Can you see the dynamic difference there? It's not that it's impossible for him, but I've built in way more safety margin, way more time, way more ability to do something about it. Right? I've still got my mobility. Here, quite honestly, how mobile are you? You really can only go one place. It's very limiting. Okay, so really, I'm not going to say, it's not a matter of right or wrong, but really think about this and make your own decision about what's probably the safest place to be, what gives you the most options, what's most technically sound and free. Through my research and study, for sure, you're punching, it's going to be here, for sure. And as I move in, you see my legs come back together. And I continue to move and my legs come back together, right? So you start to grab something, do whatever, right? My legs come back together. I can adapt to whatever is going on, right? It doesn't matter. right? I can handle that, right? So I can adapt to whatever's there because I maintain my freedom. But I just stay right there. As soon as I get locked into here, again, even if I'm choking him out, the problem is I'm not mobile anymore, and the next guy comes, I'm screwed. Right? So the goal here is not to beat and defeat this guy. That's what I was saying the other night. The goal is just keep yourself safe, make it home to your loved ones. So kind of really change what you think of success in this, and just keep yourself safe. Then, from that platform, then you can do whatever the hell you want, right? But don't get in the situation of he punches, and I'm here, and okay, I'm going to take this thing. It changes everything, right? He's right back in the fight. It is a fight. That's the problem. It's a fight. But don't fight. What he does here, there's no fight. There's no fight here. I'm not fighting whatsoever. You move, do whatever you want to do, right? There's no fight involved. Never. He's just kind of got a hologram there. There's just really nothing there. Okay? Okay. Try that. The idea of, first just standing there. The idea of not trying to force through anything, not force anything. Let's make it a bigger statement. Don't force anything. If you're forcing something, by definition, you're probably doing something you shouldn't be. Something that doesn't really truly fit or work, right? So if he's just standing here, right? And here, this is where he's solid. Well, once I get to the point where I start hitting something solid and I start getting some resistance, potentially, due to our scenario, I could probably force through that. But really, is that the best option, best choice? I'm going to say to do soke art, absolutely not. Right? So what's going to happen, I'm going to start getting, as soon as I get to the point where I start getting some resistance, I need to change the direction just that little bit in order to, this is the point of tension, in order to basically steer around that point of tension. Don't try to go through it. Right? So this is something, again, it's going to, you'll see this come up in a lot of different ways. What this is kind of one of these, for me, fundamental principles. It's got to try to don't go through the point of resistance. So seeing that in a technique, maybe we're here and I start to move forward, but at some point, yeah, it starts to get locked up and tough. So at that point, I don't keep going. Another option is just move back exactly the opposite way. Right? So it's kind of like loading up a spring just a little bit. But if I take it too far, it's not so good. I want to load up the spring just a little bit and then release it in a strategically good way for me. Right? So I'm here and load it up, and then it's just there. Right? Just that idea. And even here, if I keep doing too much, it's too much. So he starts to pull back to correct, that's okay. Right? I'm able to handle that. You see that? So it's a matter, again, yeah, not overdoing it. So we can stop right there. So get that feeling of, again, don't force through anything. As soon as you start hitting anything solid, it's time to make a change. Right? There's a lot of different options you can do to adjust to that, but I'm going to leave it kind of to you at the moment. You've got to make a change. Don't, keep forcing through. Don't try to overpower. That's not what this is. Okay, and again, maybe I can get away with it with Jonas, but again, I'm never going to get away with that with Anders, right? That trying to overpower, trying to force my way through. It's just not going to work. Right? Okay, give this a go. Don't already be trying to think ahead to the next thing, right? So we talked about this a little bit Thursday night. So what I'm seeing some people do is they've got a lot of good things, but they're already trying to grab here and whatever. And even if they're not grabbing, right, for me, part of the problem is you're actually helping this person out. You're giving them something solid there. You're almost kind of touching them, which I don't want to do that. What I want to do is just not allow him to fall on me or to attach onto me, right? I don't want to really do anything that's altering his motion per se, right? So that's part of it. The other thing, I think, again, we got to extrapolate this into, as best we can into real life. Now, obviously, the best thing from a scientific point of view is to actually go out there in the real world and do it. But that being said, morally and ethically, that's probably not a good thing to do. You're going to land yourself in jail real quickly, right? So you kind of got to use your imagination a little bit. It's my personal belief in the real scenario, I'm not going to have the time to do that. We were playing with a thing last night, we were punching, and somebody was like moving here. I think in real life, you're never going to be able to do that. In the heat of the moment, that takes too much pre-planning this. I think what's more natural, it's here, and then it's going to go out. Now I can do that, right? As you can see, it becomes much more effective by actually being patient, by actually doing less from the get-go. Same scenario here. If I'm here and I do this, well, I can do something. Yeah, but he's already naturally wanting to grab onto there, right? So what I'm saying is let him sail past, right? Then there's just nothing solid there for him, right? It's a very subtle difference, but it's a massive difference, right? Can you kind of catch the idea I'm getting at here a little bit? Yeah? No? Maybe? Okay. So if you're having that, the other alternative from there, well, he almost puts his ear right in your hand, right? Then I've got the opportunity to launch attacks, do whatever, you know, blast and do whatever I want to do, right? Which would be very different than me trying to grab for his ear. Yes, he's naturally going to cover that, right? So I don't have any intention of going for his ear. It's just I'm moving out of the way, and it's just right there. Right? So it's, again, it's quite a difference in the overall effect is quite massive by just these subtle little differences. And again, I think this is what allows Soke to do what many of us look and think is somewhat magic, like, holy crap, how do you do that? I don't think there's anything magic there. It's just he's putting all these fundamental pieces together beyond what, you know, your limited perception is, so it appears to be magic, right? So, wow. But really, for this weekend, I want you to kind of take these ideas, take these principles, don't just trust me on them, test them out for yourself, and see, you know, is this a good idea or not? Is this valid? If I ramp up the difficulty level, this guy's bigger, he's stronger, there's two guys, there's weapons involved, hey, we're on ice, whatever it is, ramp up the difficulty level, do the ideas hold up? If not, then maybe they're not so good. But I'm going to leave that for you to decide. This is where I'm at in my training, and what I see Soke doing, the ideas I'm able to take. This seems to be what really scales very well, regardless of size, speed, you know, traction, weapons, whatever. This seems, for me, from my testing and thought experiments, it seems to hold up. So I'm pushing the boundaries with it, trying to take it farther and see how far I can take it till it breaks. All right? Okay, give this a quick try. Two weeks ago, there were about 3 weeks of training at that point when I left. So what we had started out the year with was no really strong particular theme. However, since Soke was showing quite a few things from Ken. What we're talking about is kind of the straight sword with the double-edged thing there. It's generally a one-handed weapon. It's not something that we use, you know, the way that we use katana and whatnot. So in that idea, the attack is going to be this one-handed kind of attack like this, right? So, right, and before we get started, Soke was kind of very much talking about the idea. I mean, we've got one hand up pretty high here, close to where the subo would be. And then from there, instead of just using it all with the wrist, Soke was talking about the idea of having the butt of it kind of lined up along your forearm here, so you can create a little bit more control, right, and less from the wrist, right? Now it's more from the arm kind of idea. So with that idea in motion, as he strikes, getting it started and just kind of letting this place to here, right? Now, it may look like there's a lot of arm there, but what I'm wanting to get you to try to feel, slow down a second, is try to get this started initially not from the wrist. I need to get it started with my body, right? Then it can fly up, and once I get the motion started, then I can just kind of let it fly to where it will. So yeah, just that idea of letting it fly to where it will here, and then just the weight of it from there. Then from there, I'm going to turn it so it's flat, right here, and then I can bring the blade into this area on a reasonably safe, comfortable area. Okay? Okay, see if you can replicate that. A good training of thought here for the question. So let's start from the beginning. So ask your question again. The best you can.
The best I can.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Do you do it with your wrist or do you do it with your hand? That was really the.
Okay. I'm going to say both and neither.
Okay, that helps.
So, but to flesh out that answer a little bit more, I was giving the analogy. Well, let me kind of state this kind of direct answer first, and then I'll give another way to kind of look at that. So, I would say initially what I'm looking to do is get the motion of it started, again, not even just with my arm, with my body, I get it started. Then it continues a little bit more with my arm. Then at some point, once it has some inertia, then I have to just kind of let it go, right? So, and I would say that's a little bit analogous to, let's say, shooting a firearm, right? Whether that be let's say a hunting rifle, right? So initially, wherever I move the rifle, of course, is going to affect where that bullet ends up, right? But the reality is, once I pulled the trigger, right, only from that moment until the bullet reaches the end of the barrel and has actually now left the barrel, is there any ability really to alter the trajectory of that bullet? Once it's left there, it doesn't matter what I do, the bullet's going where the bullet's going, right? So this is not exactly the same, but there's a correlation here in the sense that I kind of want to get this started in a way that's, I know where it's generally going to end up, and then once I get it going, I'm not really going to guide it too much. Right? I'm for sure not going to be trying to guide it with my wrist. It's only, once this thing's really moving, there's only a limited amount of control I'm going to have with my wrist. I'm going to be able to maybe, at best, provide a little bit of tweaking to it. But I would say the smarter thing is you're going to get it moving, right? And then it's your body moving into the right place, not so much tweaking with the sword, but me adjusting my kamae relative to it. That really provides that last little bit of precision, right? In saying that, don't try to be too precise, right? If you try to really guide it all the way to the thing, it's not going to work. And people who are like snipers and good hunters, they don't actually try to hold right on the target the whole time. One of the very effective strategies is, if the target's there, what they do is they bring the dot, they're going to cross the target, and they've got the idea that right at that moment to pull the trigger for it to go, right? Because it's very difficult to actually stay right on the target. It's impossible, right? So they realize that, and what they do is they'll cross the target, right? They'll graze it with their sight line. This, again, I think it's the same thing. So forget Jonas here. It's that same idea. I'm just here at this point. It's just kind of falling wherever it's going to fall. Then I've got to adjust to where the sword's going to be. Right? So then I have the idea, once I get it started, I have some idea where it's going to end up. So then now what I've got to do is adjust my kamae relative to where it's ending up. Right? You see a little bit of a 50-50-ish kind of idea there where I'm somewhat guiding it, but I'm also somewhat letting it just kind of end up where it's going to end up, and I've got to adjust to wherever that may be. Does this kind of answer your question? Maybe too much? But again, it's this level of kind of thinking and this kind of difference, in my opinion, that really makes the difference. This is what separates what Soke is doing from everything else. Okay? Okay, it was good. Forgot that I stole it from you. So kind of black and white, but I'm going to say mistakes that I see is people are moving from their whatever position kamae, and the first thing they do, they move their head first, and then they try to follow. And again, the observation you made about that is 100% right. What's one big problem with that?
Often when you are in fight-like situation, you use the sight line. And what's in your sight line, well, you think there's where you are. What is the opposite of it? Yeah.
So maybe you have moved your head to a safe place, but the reality is your body's still right where it was and still ready to take the impact, take the shot, take the bus coming down the road. Right? I'm not going to have the bus coming and try to think I'm going to get away with it. There's a problem there. Right? So again, more fundamental than this moving the sword in a way. Number one, you got to move yourself in the right way. The sword is a whole, that's another whole level that until you fix that, you don't really need to be worrying about at this point. But it's good to bring the sword in and bring the stress level up a little bit because it amplifies whatever the problems you've got are. Right? So what I'm going to say is you very much, put your shorts down just for one quick second. Just kind of a little bit of a thought experiment here. Now you stand up. So if you're in Shizen no Kamae, right? So first of all, have the idea of okay, here's the volume for gravity, and I start turning the volume up, and now we're at 1.5, we're at 2 gravities, and so on and so forth. Just in your own mind, you can control that. How would your Kamae be? Right? Now I'm going to say, just as stating obvious things, if I'm here, for example, and I start turning that up, my kimono is going to collapse much more quickly than if I were to have proper alignment. Agreed? Okay. So figure out, you're aligning yourself relative to gravity. Where's a good shizen no kamae? Again, I can make some observations, but really you got to figure that out for yourself, where your best shizen no kamae is and what's going to stand up the longest. At some point, no matter how good it is, it's going to collapse, sure. But what we're looking to do is get the best possible one that you can have and see how far the Dow can go before it collapses, right? Okay, so once you, and I'm going to let you do that on your own time. Once you kind of start playing with that a little bit, then now here's the next, really the real challenge is, how do you move without breaking your kamae, right? So the problem, again, they say, I start moving my head first. Well, at that point, my kamae is broken. If I'm in shizen, if I move my head first, basically, there's no way not to break my kamae. So moving your head first is definitely not the solution. So how can you do? How can you move from shizen into, let's say, an ichimonji type position without moving your head first? Give it a try for yourself. Take 2 minutes and see if you can figure out how to move without moving your head first. I'm going to guess that there's most likely more than one solution to this, but one solution that works for me that makes a lot of sense. If I'm in a shizen, right, in order to start getting more defensive against, again, especially there's potentially some force coming this way, whether that be the attacker or whatever, well, I'm going to start lowering, which, again, going back to our physics we were talking about, every action is equal and opposite reaction. Well, something needs to change, so as I start to lower, my hands start to come up, which not coincidentally is a very good thing from a defensive point of view, right? So I start to lower, my hands come up, right? And then from that point, I keep lowering, and I'm able to adjust myself. And really, other than lowering a little bit, my head hasn't really actually moved forward, backward, any which particular direction yet. Not that we won't do that at some point, but for me, this is the very basic first principle. So again, if we just have like a person standing there, right, you're just standing there. If I do this, can you see the dynamic change between the two of us? Right? I've given up space that he's, again, if he's an aggressive guy, for sure, he's going to fill that space. I've started my motion backwards. He's going to fill that space. So even if I've got good structure, the problem is now we're both moving that way, and it's going to be hard for me to resist. So for me, the basic principle is going to be I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be here. Right? So can you tell the feeling, I think you can see it. What's the difference in the feeling there?
The first movement, you disappear and open up, as you said. You open up the space, but here you just continue with the space between us. So yes.
Right, so this is again, I had the idea that we were talking about the other night of kind of pressure. There's a certain amount of spatial pressure between the two of us here, right? If I do this, I've kind of released the pressure, and then we've created a vacuum that almost naturally pulls him into it. But unfortunately, that's not a good thing for me, right? So what I need to do is I've got this, and how can I get myself into a safer place without giving up any space? For me, this is a solution, right? I've maintained the pressure. Simultaneously, I've also put myself in better alignment relative to the potential force that's acting upon me. Okay, so line face up with each other and give that a quick try and see if you can replicate that. It's going to happen in drawing a sword. So again, you're not doing anything, he's just standing there. If I were to do something like this, move back, see how that's the same thing as the ichimonji? The first one, the not good one? I've given up space there, right? So for me, the basic kind of idea there is, again, just pretend this is almost like a wall, right? So here's the point. And I want to, just a tiny amount of pressure there, I want to maintain that pressure, right? And then from here, I've maintained that dynamic in that space the whole time. So to me, again, this is the basic. It's not a matter of moving forward, backward, or whatever. It's just being able to do it in space. So yeah, even just without you now. So ideally, the sword itself doesn't really particularly move. It stays, again, much like my head earlier, doesn't really move forward, back, or whatever. The sword doesn't really move forward or backward. It almost stays where it's at right? And I move my kamae around it, right? It becomes kind of the center of everything. Right? Can you see that? Okay, so maybe grab a sword or something you can simulate that for 2 seconds and give that a try. Yeah, you can do that. Take that leg. Down with that. Yeah. Right. Yes. Beautiful. That looks nice. So keep doing this, but what's nice is this is something you can do on your own against, you just use a wall. You put the butt of the sword against the wall and your hand will draw that sword. You know, all I'm doing is using the other guy kind of like a wall right now. So keep going. Just that idea of, you know, it's here, it's solid, here. Why not take this leg back? You do allow that. Yeah, that's a special permit.
I do have that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it
Sorry?
Well, in this case, because now I got to include that as part of the overall. So I'm trying to move it and do it myself. Too much.
You can now.
Yes, sir. Okay, yeah, so this question's coming up a little bit here, so let me address that. So,
when the sword is drawn out, if stepping back and then still taking up the space in the center is used by the sword instead of having the body there in the same place.
So, I don't know if I can answer that directly, but what that inspires for me is, I think for me, again, the basic concept is you got to think of, again, without this, I've got a certain mass. Once I've got this, now I have to add this into the entire formula as part of the overall mass. And what I'm looking to do is maintain the overall center of mass, not changing backward or forward, right? So while without this, there's very much more of me staying very much where I'm at, right? This upper body here stays right where it's at. With this now in the mix, I have to alter that a little bit because now I've got another moving part here. I've got more mass involved. So with that, I'm keeping this here, and you can see as it gets here, I could flick the sword out forward, but again, if I start to do that from here, now I've actually taken space that way. So in order to avoid that, what I'm doing is, again, just basically moving myself around the sword. Right? Can you see? So the overall, I'm not sure if this is answering you correctly.
In the same space.
Yeah, I'm trying to do, again, like planets orbiting around the sun. It's just, again, it's just basic physics here. I've got a certain amount of mass without this, and I'm trying to basically keep the center of mass really without moving while simultaneously getting better alignment. And I got the same goal here. Now I've also got this, and I'm trying to basically keep the overall mass centered while getting myself into a place of better alignment. Right? Okay. Is that kind of answer?
Yes.
Okay. So try that out. Okay.
In your belt, if you have the sword too far down in your belt, you're not going to be able to move your body back without getting the sword out. So your preparation needs to be good, so you have the sword out, so it's in a ready position. This is easier to move. This is quite a long sword, so I will not be able to kind of do this without actually pushing myself back.
So Soke has shared, this kind of inspires something Soke has shared a number of times. is, again, kind of the basic, is being able to have it balanced. Right? As soon as it's here, it's not so balanced anymore. So that's one idea. Yeah, it is a potential for me to protect it more potentially. But again, my center of mass isn't off and my balance is going to be off. So I'm going to probably be, this is much more balanced. It's kind of in a place where it's not going forward, it's not hanging forward, it's not backward. It's just kind of very well balanced. And then I want to move in a way that even if I'm not touching, it doesn't really have the sword flopping all over the place. Right? Can you see that? So that kind of ties into what you're saying as well. But yes, the other principle that this comes to mind is if I know that I've got a certain place that I want to be, or that I want to end up, why not start out in a better place? Right? And it's kind of like it's kind of a joke out like in the American countryside. You're out in the country somewhere out in farmland, and you know you're driving your car and you get lost, and there's a farmer. You finally able to get his attention. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking to get to Johnsonville from here. I'm looking to get from Johnsonville." And he's like, "Well, you know, if I was going there, I certainly wouldn't start here." Right? And it's that kind of idea, right? So it's if you know where you're trying to end up, then take steps that are leading you to where you want to go, right? Don't, if I know I want to maintain a certain balance, whatever, for sure don't start here is going to make it a lot more challenging and difficult. Why not start in a more appropriate place? So then I can, I've got it out there, whatever, okay? Okay. Try that, and then I think we're going to take a break out of that. Right? Then again, aligning myself behind it. Again, if the blade's this way, obviously I don't want to do that, so I need to turn the blade, which would bite in and would drag and do that a little bit, destabilize him. Again, if we were to analyze, I've got my elbow between the two of us, I've got some shield and some manner of control. I've got the sword here that's got between me and this weapon, so I'm in a reasonably safe place. And then from here, then it's easy for me to move into this type of area, right? And I've got the blade of the sword here, right? This is not going to cut on its own, but of course it's threatening. But from here, then any motion, whichever way, is back. So something Soke repeats over and over and over is, again, don't be in a rush to cut the guy, right? What we're looking to do, because the reality is something happens quickly, you haven't really had an opportunity to assess the situation, right? To really understand what's going on. I was talking with Roger again, and sometime, maybe this guy's got maybe he's holding a knife or something like that. Yeah, he's just holding a knife standing here. And maybe I'm over here, Roger happens to push him. Yeah, just more naturally. Just more natural. Hold on, 1 second. Just more natural. Just stand natural. Stand naturally. Okay, that how you would stand? Right, probably just hold the knife, right? Okay, so maybe he's holding the knife, and Roger pushes him, right? Yeah, and I'm here, and I just boom out of the blue, kill this guy. That probably wasn't the right thing to do, right? Because it really wasn't this guy's fault, right? So what I'm getting at here, the idea is, again, if you have the skill and the option, then you want to be a little bit more patient, give yourself time to assess the situation, and then you can make an intelligent decision about what's going on. Even if you, then taking it one step farther, even if you are morally and ethically justified in killing this person, it still doesn't mean that's the right thing that you should do. Because again, don't worry, at that point, once he's, trying to attack me, in my opinion, he's given up all his rights. So that's not a matter of what I care about him, but that's something I can take this guy out, and I could have walked away. That's something that's going to wear on my soul for the rest of my life, right? So that's another level of self-protection, if you will. Okay, so back to this start, that's a little bit too heavy. So just this idea of, again, moving out of the way and letting this kind of get up here and stepping behind it, right? And see how you get, this kind of just falls right down into where now the blade doesn't have to move very much, right? This other piece here is nice because it gives me some resistance. What I was saying before, if there's no resistance, it's actually a little bit difficult to cut, right? Depending on how sharp your blade is, it's hard to cut. So I need a little resistance here in order to get a nice cutting surface, right? So I can now, I could cut should I want to, right? See that? Okay. Try that with all those crazy ideas thrown in. Now, again, not wasting this motion. So again, if I just go here, nothing's happened to him. I moved his arm, okay, yeah, wonderful. But really, again, I didn't do anything to him in his command. So that's again something where I need to be able to find a way. Yeah, now his command is altered, and then maybe that point here, where now look, his throat's getting opened up, and he's right into a vulnerable spot there. So again, be strategic in what you're doing. It's not a matter of just batting his arm out of the way. We were talking about the other night, just let me borrow your arm. Just stick your arm out. Yeah, if I just do this, I've done nothing to him. Okay, yeah, I cleared the arm out of the way, but you know, the reality is the whole rest of them still got command. So sticking the arm out, I need to do something that alters him, that changes him. The arm doesn't have to move that much. It's, what matters is not the arm, it's his structure, right? So in this, it's the same idea has to be there. I need to move his structure, not the arm. And then come in there, and he's falling right into that spot. Right? See that? Okay. So again, think through the pieces a little bit here. Or size appropriate. So don't forget, again, when there's a big height difference or something like that, I gotta have the idea that I move over here a little bit. It's probably not a good idea to try to go for that right now because, you know, this is not good combined. So I need to get myself here into a place now I can go there and he's in my zone. He's in my world, right? And then as I take and do whatever, okay? So again, think of the pieces here. This, for me, especially in the training aspect, there's a paradox of, in my opinion, this is very much of a thinking man's art, like chess. You need to really consider as best you can everything, all the pieces, all the variables, all the principles, you know, all the situations and how, you know, after the fact, how's the law going to view it, how's society, all these kind of things. It's a lot of stuff to take in, but it's a lot that you need to think about. The paradox of it is in the heat of the moment, there's no time for anything. It's machine. There's no mind. There's no intention. There's nothing. You just do. Right? So this is kind of where this paradox comes in. But anyway, while you're training, you gotta, again, this is an opportunity for us to slow things down, break things down, and really try to work towards the ideal. Try to work towards the perfection. It's never truly going to be attainable, but that's what we're striving for. Then when the real world happens, well, you know, even when you kind of screw up, it's going to be far better than where you would have been had you had lower standards to start with, right? They say in English, we say, you know, shoot for the stars, land on the moon, right? It's that kind of idea. Okay? Okay, give this a try. Understanding and concept at that time is significantly different than what I understand and see and believe now, right? So if you know, Barty, you know, it's just from like a punch. So again, it's going to be, one second, it's going to be a hyper slow punch here. My concept back then was, I'm going to wait, and at that last second I'm going to move out of the way, and that's going to create this kind of thing. But now, applying the methodology I'm talking about now, scalability, as we start speeding that up, how's that going to hold up? Right? Can you use your imagination how that's not going to hold up, right? That's going to collapse pretty quickly. I mean, that would be somewhat analogous to now he's got a gun, and he's going to shoot me, and I'm going to wait for the bullet to come, and in the last second I'm going to move out of the way of the bullet? No. I think you can see in that extreme example, that's not going to get the job done, right? So what I think, well, let me ask you, what is the correct timing? What is that point that you should be doing something? Right? What would that be? If we were able to pick the perfect, precise moment, what is that trigger? What is that thing, piece, timing that is the right timing? Right? In this scenario, obviously, it's too late. Okay, I hope we can all see that. So I'm going to help you out first of all saying it's probably not something you can see. By the time you've seen it, it's too late.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the Godon test. Right? It's when he decides to do something, that's the point. I've got to have started my motion. I've got to start my response or moving myself to a safe place, right? So going back to, of course, now the punch thing, what does Hisoke do? He's moving early but slow. See how little movement there is, but it's slow and it's kind of congruous. If he's got a gun on, he's going to shoot me. At that point, I need to be moving. I can't wait for the bullet to be coming out the end of the gun. It's too late, right? At that point, before he's even got his hand on the gun, he's made a decision. That's when I got to be doing something. Right? That's the only chance I've really got. So the difference here is my old way of thinking, the wrong thing was you're going to wait and then you're going to move quickly. Not going to work. What Soke does, he moves early but slow, early but smooth. Okay, so try to encompass that a little bit in your timing. If you're late, then you're late. Right? So let me ask you this: is it better to be too late? If you have to have one or the other, is it better to be too late or too early in this? Anybody? I hope it's an obvious answer. Right? Too late is too late. You're screwed. It's way better to have been too early. Now, that being said, I'm going to try to get as best I can to that appropriate timing. So whenever Jonas does something, whatever, right? That's the timing. I need to be doing something. It's not something that's visible. It's something I feel. It's when he makes a decision to do something. That's the point. So in this sword thing, going back to that, let's grab our sword again. Right? It's that point right there. Right? And even though he can start seeing, he can see some sort of motion, it's not some kind of radical weird thing that he really wants to readjust and recorrect. That's what kind of makes it work, and it almost feels a little silly, right? Okay. All right, so we can capture that a little bit. Okay. Same kind of thing, get myself to here, moving to this point, but then almost have the idea of like billiards, you know, like a pool cue, right? From here, ball in here, and letting it slide up off, you know, keep it right here and slide up right underneath where it's most vulnerable. If you had some sort of helmet on or whatever, you know, this is going to be the most vulnerable angle. Even if he's got his thing hanging down there, you can kind of slide underneath it. Right? So using him somewhat as the guide here, right? It's in, and just this idea from here, again, not just with my arm, but with my body moving here and letting that slide right in. And what you see again, elbows there, this is basically reasonably covered. And I'm just using everything to slide right into there, right underneath it in a kind of a piercing thrust. Okay. Subtle difference, but interesting. I can get this right here. Okay. But again, what I want you to focus on again is not the idea of this is some killing, thrusting thing here, right? What I want to have more is the idea of as it gets to here, it's that threat, and in that moment, that's when I can. Okay, because it's not the attack itself, it's not the strike itself, it's that response or reaction to it that I'm looking for. I'm trying to give him a chance to break his own kamae without me really doing anything, right? So he's just giving me away something for kind of free. From here, that moves, yeah, his kamae starts to break, and in that moment, I can bomb, and then I can really take his head off. Not with the first one, right? The first one is a threat. It's a little bit of stimulus in order to create some sort of reaction or response. Right? You see that? Okay. Try it. Again, it's the same principle earlier. It's like don't go directly for what you're trying to do. So it's an indirect series of failures until it succeeds. Okay? Okay. Do that again. So yeah. Or it doesn't matter. So another thing to kind of look at and analyze that actually Arvid hit on it quite well was, again, once we get to here and I'm able to get this point, this next point, what I do not do is take this sword all the way, yeah, see the big opening, or let's say I'm okay here, even here, now there's a big opening, right? So what would be better is, again, my basic kind of principle, I want to keep something between us the entire time. I want us to keep some sort of shielding, some sort of protection there. So as we go, right, I want to be here, move, and it's boom. Can you see this center point never is not between us? Can you see that? Did you see that? Yes, no? Yes. Okay. So I got to keep something there from the point of view of safety. I always want to build in safety margin on top of safety margin on top of safety margin to the best of my ability. One of those safety margins is having a shield. If there's something between the two of us, actually, let's see. Put this down for a second. If we're here, okay, I've got a certain amount of time to deal with whatever attack. Suddenly, we're here. Maybe we're the same distance apart, but I've given myself more time. Because there's something in the middle, she's got to go around it. So I've built in more effective distance, right? You see that? Okay, so always keep a shield. That's going to be, I think, a very consistent point that I'm going to have here in what we did earlier, like going back to the punch thing, the first thing we did, sort of like a punch, right? If I move here, see my elbows are in there. If I move, elbows are there. Boom, my elbows are there. The entire time I've got something between the two of us, right? You see that? I'm not going to say never, but almost never is there going to be a thing here, and I'm going to get myself here, and now there's nothing between us, right? I'm going to try to have some effective shielding at all times. It's just safer, okay? Okay, let's try this again using that strike in a way that you don't make this big arcing circle. Keep something between the two of you. Moving to here, okay? Just grabbing, just moving up and covering here. Then move myself this way. Just keeping them in kind of our arm's length, right? This is where to try to do anything, I got this ability to cover it, right? Despite what it might look like, there's no strength or effort in here. Right? It's just cover into a safe place and move myself from here. Right? Just that idea. See that? Start with that.
Jonas.
So first thing is here, just getting something up between the two of us. I want that shield, I want that guard. What I'm not doing is trying to do something to that punch. That punch went exactly where Roger threw it. I didn't try to block it, alter, or do anything to it. Right? So just that idea of here, I just need to get something between us. Give me some protection for whatever he would want to do next, right? I've got the ability now to have some shielding. I've got my combine, right? And then I can move from there, okay? So that's the first idea. Then from here, then the idea of just now I'm moving kind of 50-50 idea, which I was talking about the other night, right? So this is still somewhat covered here. And again, what I've seen some people do is they're pulling this arm. Yeah, see what happens then? Don't pull that arm, push that arm, right? Again, if we go back to our biomechanics, it's a lot easier and more biomechanically effective to push things than to pull things, right? And if it's some dangerous thing, I don't want to be pulling it closer to me. I need to keep it at distance, right? That makes sense? So as best you can, get that shield there and keep things pushed. Okay, try that. And I'll show you on Andre in a minute. Now, up till now, the timing factor, right? Is here and you grab at that point, I need to already be moving. See, what does not happen is my hands fly up, right? It's not that. Right? It's got to be synchronized with what's going on and what he does. And then from there, moving on, right? Can you see that? Right? At any point in time, if we get static here, I've got the ability to do things. Right? But see how I'm just kind of maintaining? What I'm not trying to do is put myself into it. I get too attached, I get too caught up in there. I've lost my freedom and my mobility, and there's a chance my combine could get disrupted. So I've got to maintain kind of that safety and that buffer zone and those shields to protect my combine. Okay, try that. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I can't overemphasize the basic idea of Rob, whatever, he's throwing shuriken at me, right? And let's say I'm using this. Yeah, just slow, 1, 2, 3. I don't want to be reacting and responding to each and every shuriken, because one of them eventually is going to slip through. Probably the smarter plan, again, the statistically higher success plan, as he's throwing shuriken, is just keep it directly between the two of us, right? Can you see how that would probably be a more effective strategy? So in this, I'm going to say it's the same thing here, right? Just go slowly. If I try to block the punch, well, I may or may not successfully do that. Maybe I do, and he's going to freaking headbutt me or something else, right? If there's an opening there in the middle. Why not do the same thing as that? Just get something up in the middle of us. Right, he's a whole different feeling for him. right? And as this is moving, and boom, he's got the opportunity for this type of thing, right? Can you tell the feeling difference there?
Yeah, well,
That's what
well, there is a, as I mentioned, I mean, there's always something in the way for you to
Yes.
do your next move. So whether that is planned or not, I can't see that, but it's naturally, in my opinion, appears there. Whether you
Right, yeah,
you
yeah,
come out-
I'm not intentionally trying to, can I borrow that stick again? Okay, just awesome. Yeah, I'm not trying to be here and something's coming in and trying to move it over here and move the shield. That doesn't make a lot of sense, quite frankly, right? So it's seeing that same differentiation. And just borrow you, you're just kind of an innocent bystander, right? And Anders slowly starts coming at me, right? I'm not going to just stand my ground and try to move Roger here. Does that make sense? Yeah, probably not. Am I going to really be able to stand my ground and move him? No. Probably what makes a lot more sense is to do this, right? He moved a little bit, but I did 80–90% of the moving, right? Same scenario there. So don't have the idea of moving the shield. In this situation, again, I had the rope shuckable or whatever here. Don't move the shield around, right? Just get yourself behind the shield. Move you behind the shield. So in this case, this arm is the shield, right? So I don't want to move the shield here because really I moved it too far and I'm vulnerable, right? See that? All I need to do is just get myself behind it, right? Now, yeah, see how he's on his toes? You see the difference? I mean, he can definitely feel the difference for sure. So it's a different thing. In doing that, there's no intention, and then again, I've reduced my chances of making a mistake there because I know where my arm's at, and all I got to do is get behind it. Where his punch at is this moving object that he's controlling. You know, it's not a high probability success thing, and I'm going to snatch that out of the air or block it or whatever. Just get myself behind the shield. Right? Okay, so throw that in. The dial becomes that much more important. So now I've got a big guy like Anders here, right? And he grabbed the hold of the punches. I need to get myself to that safe spot. If I try to do something to that punch, I'm going to get bowled over even if I'm effective. Then from there, just that really light. Now he's starting to lean here just a little bit on that, and being able to drift that away. Right? Boom. Right in that moment. Right? So what's the feeling there?
The feeling is I'm hitting her, I'm leaving with you, and
Right,
then
yes.
you are just letting her
Yeah. Okay. So we can, what we were talking about the other night for people that were here, and I'm going to give, I had the idea that Dino Gary in Germany, I'm going to credit him with giving a good name to it. It's the Jenga principle. You know the game Jenga, right? So in that, you build up the thing, and you're trying to take out pieces without letting anything fall over. This is the same idea, except I'm looking for the one piece that lets everything fall, right? So with you know, here, we're going kind of slowly, or here, and right now, okay, I got points of contact, and I drift those away from him just slightly. And now he's leaning here, I just need to pull that and drift that away, because somewhat analogous to, you know, the dude leaning on you like this, right? In the bar, yeah, just lean like, not martial arts, just you're like leaning on me, right? This is the support, I just need to drift that away, right? Take that support away. It's the same concept. So you're looking for, not to add anything in, because again, what am I going to do to him? Not much, right? Find the pieces that you can take away. Soke is, you know, maybe 5% of the time adding something in. 95% of the time, whatever he's doing, he's taking something out. He's taking something away. Right? So I'm going to encourage you to do the same. It's a much more sound, safe methodology. Okay? Okay. Give that a try. People heading the right way. But again, some people still, they're trying to make contact with this arm. Don't do that. It's a moving object. It's going to be very difficult to really kind of catch. It's far safer just get myself behind the shield. And yeah, see the difference already? Much better. If I need to do something to that, I still have the ability to do something and go from there if I need to. But really, I've got to just let that punch and fly where it may, and do my own thing, just keeping myself in a safe place, right? Don't have that intention. Again, there's another kind of concept here. Again, if you have the idea of trying to evade the attack, trying to get away from the sword, trying to get away from the punch or whatever, by definition, you're connected to it. So you really can never get away from it because you're connected to it. There's a connection there. So what you need to do is just be able to turn that off. There's no connection whatsoever. Then from there, I can do whatever. Now that I've got connections on my terms, right, when I want to do it, that's starting to push on me a little bit back there. Boom, I'm going to release that in a way that's beneficial for me and bad for him, right? But if you have the idea of an intention of trying to do some specific thing, you're never going to be able to feel what's really there, right? I am at the point now where I can almost always feel exactly, okay, he's leaning on me here, he's pressing over there, way before the uke even has it. They don't even know what's going on. They're not even aware that they're relying on something, and I already know it, so I'm already, this is again how I'm staying ahead. I can feel that, like here, and I can feel a little bit of pressure there, that I can drop that away. Now there's a little bit of pressure here, there's a little bit of contact here, and I can move those in a way that's effective for me, that's beneficial for me, and not allow him to ever really have a connection to my command. He may have my shirt, he may have my arm or whatever, but he never really has me. That's the difference. Conversely, everything I do has a direct connection to his command. It affects it. You know, again, the highest level, I bat my eyelashes, I blink, and it affects his command. That's, I mean, that's really where, you know, if we could, that's really where we're trying to be. I inhale, exhale, it affects his command. That's really would be the highest kind of level of this thing. Okay? I'm not quite there yet, but working on that. Okay, try that. Or perhaps revisit. Is again what I kind of call the 50-50 idea. So it's here, and I move, and I've got contact here, and I want to do equal amount with both sides. Right? What I'm not doing, just standing from there, I'm not trying to take everything from here, and I'm certainly not trying to take everything from here, right? So, again, a little bit ridiculous sounding, but again, as a visualization, almost have the idea I've got maybe like a beach ball in my hand here. Right? So that he grabs a punch, I lift that beach ball in the thing, and see how I maintain the beach ball, right? That allows me to, there's the beach ball, right? That allows me to basically kind of start incorporating this 50-50 idea, right? Again, it's not a matter of having a beach ball, obviously, but it's the idea of, again, having kind of equal parts left and right, not having one place do everything. If I was just back to like something simple like an emote yaku, right? If I do everything here, yeah, maybe it's going to work, but the problem is he can kind of understand that because everything's right here, all the pressure is right here. What would be better is I start that and I move and I take some other place simultaneously. So he's going down. The reality was I never really put the emote yaku on. It's always there right at the edge where it could be on, but it's not necessarily. So what's making it happen? And when you're watching Soke, you'll very clearly see this now that I'm mentioning this to you, is what you see happening. The technique that you see, that's not ever really what's making it happen. He's going to have the emote yaku, everybody sees that, but what you need to do at that point is look somewhere else. It's that other place that's making it happen. Okay? So again, 50-50 idea. Try that. And then, again, don't forget the pushing aspect that I was talking about, where it's here, just kind of this, and bring it here, and then there's just this pushing distance, right? So I'm seeing some people get to the point, let's just get, that's fine, right? But we're getting here, and they're starting out okay, but then they end up pulling this here. See how that's not doing anything to you? Yep. Right? It needs to be here, right? Then it's safe. Right? Again, it's not about his arm, it's about him. Don't lose sight of it. Don't get too caught up in limbs and arms and whatever. Again, it's his structure that matters, right? And what again, going back to kind of the idea I mentioned earlier with some people about chess, right? At the beginning of chess, both pieces, and you're just standing up there, right? We're kind of 50-50. Nobody's got any faults. Nobody's got any issues, right? At some point, he decides to go out, and I just got to basically keep myself in a safe place So he's now starting to make the mistake, make the error. And then it's just a matter of exploiting that issue, exploiting that error, right? Not allowing him to penetrate my defenses, right? Maybe he wants to push with that or do something, right? It's okay, right? I don't resist. So the basic kind of what I'm trying to get at here is just all you're really looking to do, just keep yourself in a safe place. I'm not really trying to do anything to him. It's up to him to destabilize and to break himself. Now, I'm gonna give him every opportunity to do that, but he's got to do it. As soon as I start trying to do it, I'm gonna get crushed, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Right. Can you say anything about what the feeling is right there again? Sorry.
I don't think I have much to add.
Okay.
I just said it.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Go for it.
Ja, då står det rekord och sen så.
Stick with what we were playing with here a little bit. I had the grab and the punch, so I'll just move myself to here, to here. Now again, the 50-50, another idea of the 50-50 thing is if I want to do something here, I need to do something somewhere else, right? I need to get something created here, right? Then I can move away and take this relatively easily and effectively. Because what's going to happen is his attention, his attention is going to get focused over here, and the next thing you know, this gets left hanging out, right? So just move myself here, and boom, and maybe it's that, right? Now he's completely lost any focus there is on this area right here, right? Because he's worried about that and the strike and the front. Then from there, I can take and I've got a nice home gyaku, or a gyaku, or an arm bar, or whatever. Okay? Get back track. Another implementation of the 50-50 concept. To intentionful, right? If she's going here, and I get to this spot, I don't have the idea of necessarily striking, trying to take her head off. All I'm looking to do is just do that. That's enough. She's turned her head, she's gotten her kamae worse, and she's forgotten about this out here. It's now vulnerable and hanging. And all I need to do is just step back and let her fall right into whatever technique I want. All right? Can you express that? Say what the feeling is?
Use control of what's happening around you. You just focus on the punch and then suddenly fall on the floor. It's like, I don't have control of my body anymore.
What I see as the kind of typical progression of mindset. The guy comes in and he's aggressive, he's going to do something, then all of a sudden he doesn't get the results he expected. There's something kind of, unsettling, both mentally and physically there. Then next thing you know, he tries to move the next thing, and he ends up now in even a worse position than the one he was just in, right? And they're like, wait a minute. And then he tries something else, and everything he tried ends up in a little bit worse position. What happens mentally is he goes from first I'm the aggressor, then to a little bit of confusion, then the person kind of goes into just survival mode. All they're trying to do is just keep themselves from getting hurt. And in that mindset, they can't attack you. And that's kind of what we're trying to get to, that kind of place, is where, again, not about beating the other person down, not about breaking them. The best resolution is they want to stop fighting. Right? That's really what we're trying to do. And this idea is encompassed in the story. So, okay, it tells about, holding the bee in your hand, right? If you start to, and again, the pressure idea is right in the same concept as well, right? If you're here and I start to crush the bee, what's the bee going to do? He's going to sting me. Now he's going to die, but I'm going to get stung, right? So the goal here is not to kill the bee. I'd just rather not get stung, right? Conversely, if I release too much, the bee's going to fly away, right? So to maintain the balance that we're looking for within this, there's an optimal pressure there. Too much and it's dangerous, not enough, and now I don't have information, and maybe the bee's going to fly around and come from some other place and sting me, maybe, right? So again, this stuff's all interrelated. All these concepts, really, they're all the same thing. We're coming at it and looking at it from different perspectives, but really there's no difference here, right? It's here, it's just this, right? So his arms are a little bit more tense, so I might move in a different way. And bam, here, and now he's got left this hand hanging out there, right? Can you see? in and of the same kind of thing. And even here, I'm not grabbing a hold of anything. It's just kind of taking the space that he needs to be in order to fix himself. He can't be there because I'm already there. He starts to resist against that, it's okay, right? And then this disappears, right? And that's there, and just covering the space, right? Now I'm starting to grab, I don't resist that, right? It's just that, just riding the edge of the storm, right? That type of idea, okay? Okay, give this a quick try. Different things, of course, are going to change in this. Same idea, I'm going to be here, and I move here, maybe his head's too far away, but I'm going to hit this spot, right? And then now I've got that, right? So maybe his head was a little too far away, right? And then moving here, popping him up for that in order to take to the next thing, right? So just be aware that you can change and alter these things. It's not what I'm doing directly, it's the effect that's created by it. He's just kind of hanging on here. Then move to here, and in that moment, that's when he's vulnerable, right? You see how he's hanging in there? That's what I was talking about with you. He's just hanging there. He's fucked. I mean, quite honestly, right? Yes. Right. And as soon as I try to use commonsensical, conventional methodologies of me forcing and doing techniques or whatever, again, it's not gonna, in my opinion, it's just a losing, risky gamble that I'm not willing to take, right? So I hope you can see in this kind of thing, this kind of movement, and again, you confirm or not, it really doesn't matter how big, strong, whatever, that never comes into play. There's no strength involved here whatsoever. It's not about that. So okay, repeating this ad nauseum. It's not about being big, strong, fast, athletic. That's not what this is. This is something you can improve as you get older in age, and you naturally lose some of those things. It's just an inevitable process of nature. So that's the difference between like us and, let's say, a Muay Thai. Those guys can become highly effective in a short amount of time, but how many 60-year-old Muay Thai masters do you see? Right? Their bodies are wrecked and they can't really do what they've been trained to do. So in my mind, it's not a very good investment because it's something they're just going to lose. This, it's okay, year on year is getting better, more powerful, more effective, despite the fact that he's a little slower, he's got a little less muscle mass, he's losing the things that we conventionally think are what we need. So that's why, this is the other thing that keeps me coming back to this art. Right? This I can see the long-term benefit, and actually, at this point, relatively in like 27 years, the short-term benefit, right? It's paying off, it works. Okay, give it a try. A couple of levels there. Of course, the number one for me more important aspect that I hope to take today is some of these bigger overriding principles. But that being said, there's time to point out some little more specific criteria sometimes. So again, I want to jump back to something I said earlier about if I have something I want to specifically do, right, get myself in a good position to do that. So if I want to strike him in the face, this is a pretty good place to do it. If I move myself all the way around to here, it's kind of tough to hit him in the face now, right? You see that? And you were specifically happy. Maybe you're going around a little bit too far to do that particular thing. So get yourself to the place of most potential. Yeah, you can feel it, right? Right? And maybe put that out there, and that's when, boom, that's the thing, right? It's going to be something else, right? That's always the reaction to it that I'm looking for. Not necessarily that I'm going to put anything too much into one particular strike. But I want the potential, I want the choice, right? And he can feel that. That's the basis of Kyojitsu. There has to be the potential for the reality there in order for the Kyojitsu, the falsehood, the trickery, to be most effective, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So I need to get myself into that spot where, hey, I can really freaking do something here in order to take it away and do nothing, right? You see that? Mix that in there a little bit. Kind of thing, move myself here, and put this out in this way in order to take maybe a Muchidori or something like that. Right? Again, how much is that on right now? Almost not, it is non-existent. But it's there, should I want to put it on. But in that moment when I start to fight up, then I need to change to something else, right? And there's again that spot where he's vulnerable and he can be hit, right? So it's here, he's moving, and putting something there in order to take this kind of thing. If I had weapons, I could draw a weapon. If I had a gun, I could draw a gun out at this point. It'd be pretty bad shape. Right? So again, it's just that kind of idea of, you know, feigning and then just being able to move naturally, kind of like he's not there. Right? Just that type of idea. Right? Okay? So see if you can create that. But what I don't want to see is any of this big scooping, this, that, and the other, reaching for stuff. In the last one, let's do the whole thing real quick. In the last one where we were kind of here, don't be reaching for something behind you. If I'm going to go for that, move myself back to where it's in my strong place, right? Same thing for this. Here, boom, right? Don't reach for it. I'm just walking myself right over to where it is. See how my arms never go beyond me? Never reaching for it. Walk yourself to whatever it is you want. Okay? Go for it. Already running. If I'm trying to go to this Mushidori place, probably it doesn't make a lot of sense to put his arm here first. See now how it's moving farther and farther away from where the Mushidori was? If we go here, boom, it's not too far from that now, right? Here, and look, now there it is. Right? So why don't take the arm farther away from where you wanted it to go, allow him to fall into it. Right? That makes sense? So if you have a certain place you want to go, start from the right position. Okay? They give you the Mushidori, and then you just graciously receive it. Right? Different mentality there. Again, it's just here, right? As I move through, right, I'm not taking it. It's just kind of there. See how I've never grabbed for it? He's basically effectively giving it to me. I haven't even started doing the Mushidori yet, but it's completely on. The nice thing about this too here is I can easily step out of that and move to the next thing very easily, right? So I'm not, again, it's the similar idea, just one second, of me, I don't want to do this, even if I'm winning, because I'm stuck, right? So I don't want to get myself into one of these things where I'm here and I'm way, I'm putting that energy and my own self into it, and I'm kind of stuck, If somebody else comes, it's not so easy for me to get out of here so easily. So keep it more in a way that I can get out of here, easily, right? Sorry about that. Don't get yourself too tied up in it, because again, the problem is you're losing your freedom. You're losing your ability to respond to what you need to do. Do you see that? Okay. Let that go. Common misconceptions and misunderstandings about some of the things in the Bujinkan, and personally, I don't think they're coming from the top down. I don't think they're not coming from Soke. I think there's other just misunderstandings when you get the game where I'm going to go over here and I'm going to tell you a secret and doing it around the room. By the time it comes back here, it's a whole different story. I think that's somewhat what's happened to some of these ideas. Some of these ideas where they're back here and all this kind of stuff. I think with this Mushidori, again, I think there's some misunderstanding. Can I borrow you again? Because he's a pretty big solid guy. We were just playing around just with this aspect here. And just give it to me just a little bit. Right here, if I start to tighten up and do this, you can see it's not a good thing. There's no real effect there. Yeah, it's not really bothering him. And I'm putting a lot of tension and effort in here, so I really don't have any sensitivity to what he's doing. Right? Where what I need to do is just relax. And just let it go. Right? So, again, I have a feeling, we haven't actually talked about it. I got a feeling you have a little bit of real world experience, perhaps, I don't know. But what do you feel the difference there? How could you describe it?
Ja, det första han gör, då håller han fast mig. Jag känner det och jag står här, jag står ganska stadigt. När han byter grepp så får jag en känsla av att vara mitt emellan att stå och inte stå. Så att om jag jobbar så kan jag få balans, men ändå inte. Och han tar inte i särskilt mycket, utan jag bara ligger mitt emellan. Och så släpper han bara. Och då, det finns ingenting som håller emot mig.
So, part of the difference here is, again, it's not I'm not trying to Mushidori his arm. I'm Mushidoriing him. Right? Big difference there, right? I don't want to take a moteyaku on the wrist. I want to moteyaku him. the person. It's the like the concept. It's not a specific, okay, the wrist is exactly at this angle and this hole and all. That's not what it is. It's the underlying kind of principle and concept there that really is what matters. So let's ramp this up to the next level here. So we got Roger here, and where's Roger at? Oh, sorry, so Roger's over here, right? So same scenario here, and grabs, and Roger decides he's going to throw a punch in, right? And just this move into this kind of idea, and then from there, just connecting the two guys, right? Done very little, right? But at that point, as you can see, I get myself into a safe place. Now, what do you think would happen if I get engaged with the first guy in any real connected way? Even if I survive him, this dude's going to freaking crush me, right? So this is where, I hope you can see, this is where this really comes out, that I need to move in a way that's free, right? See how I've got myself some safety here? And it doesn't have to end beautiful and pretty every time that both guys are on the ground. I just got to keep myself safe. That's the point. As soon as I get into the thing that, hey, I got to have a certain outcome against these guys, I'm going to quickly get led down the wrong path, and it's going to be the end of me. Let's try it here on this side now. So the same kind of scenario, we're here, right? And maybe it's just this, All right? You see that? Even to here, right? And taking. Right? Just that type of thing, right? And to a certain extent, again, as long as I don't do too much, I can exhibit quite an amount of control. Yeah, I'm not really putting that much on there, right? Right? You can pull your hand out of there. Right? It's different than this, right? Right? I'm just covering it, right? It's just enough to control these guys. Now, how can a little, 70-kilogram dude control, these big ass dudes? The big ass. It's from the steak restaurant we were at. The 500-gram steak was called the big ass. So that's right. But again, this is typifies what I'm saying. Again, as we ramp up the difficulty level, the scalability of it, we put two guys and two big guys. Is it going to hold up? I think you can see from this. I hope you're going to say, yeah, these principles hold up, but that's for you to decide. But in my mind, at this point, this is what I see Soki doing. This is where, I'm not expending my energy, I'm not expending my resources, I'm not giving anything away. And this kind of ties into the concept I think I mentioned the other night, that, let's say I do the more conventional means, right? And let's just take it hyper slow here. So you go, these come, and bah, I do my Jackie Chan thing and kick this dude's ass, and you're gone, I kicked your ass. Right, and the next one comes, and bah, I do my Jackie Chan, and bah, I do my freaking thing. Well, that takes a lot of energy. I'm out of breath just doing that. Right? So maybe the first guy it's going to work. Maybe the second guy I'm okay. By 5 guys, I'm starting to slow it down a little bit. By 10 guys, I'm tired. By 20, I'm for sure exhausted. Right? Certainly the 100 or 1,000 are never going to happen. Right? But amongst the way that I'm trying to advocate here, Takamatsu shared with Hatsumi Sensei, it doesn't matter whether it's one guy, there's 10 guys, there's 10,000, it's the same. And I hope you can see the way that I'm trying to put forward here, that could be plausible, right? Because what I'm doing is just walking the way I normally walk, not doing anything, I'm not expending any energy. I do that all day, every day. So this is the same, right? I'm not putting anything out there. So theoretically, it could be 10,000, right? There's no real difference because I'm never engaged with any one particular guy. I'm not expending any resources, just keeping myself in a safe place. That's much more theoretically plausible, right? I don't want to test it out myself, but you can see as a thought experiment there, it's a different way of handling things. It's a lot more technically sound. Okay, so give this a try. Do your little 3-man thing. Take it slow, because all your old bad habits are going to creep right back in, I guarantee you, right? But focus on, again, and be willing to lose here, right? It doesn't have to work every time. We're in the dojo, that's the difference. Be willing to fuck up. That's what you're going to learn. Work on your principles. Doing things reasonable. Sometimes you're going to find yourself in the scenario we're just going to say, yeah, let me borrow you guys. Right? So let's see here. Grab me. And let's say it's here, and I'm going to try to create. Okay, so nothing's really too much going on here. So what I need to do then is try to analyze again, who's potentially got the weaker combine, who's more close to being broken. In this case, I'm going to probably say it's Krister's, right? And I'm going to move in a way that's going to allow him to fall. Then all I really have to do is find a way to keep him connected to him as he falls. Right? See that? So again, in the real speed of life, okay, you're not going to be able to sit there and stop and analyze, but again, that's why we're here, to be prepared for when the thing happens, so it just becomes something natural, right? So when you get in those positions and all of a sudden things are stuck, stop, and again, if you're new, okay, don't be an ass and cheat and change everything. Stop there for a second and analyze and see, okay, what's available to me here? Analyze the situation a little bit and find out what you can do, what makes the most sense. How can you deconstruct this a little bit in order to have the greatest effect with little or no effort? Okay? Okay, go for it. You use your imagination a little bit, but we were talking over here about this, and again, in the observation that you made was about what? You guys get the way, right? So sometimes the two other attacker guys end up getting in each other's way. And so okay, they're like, yeah, this is exactly one of these kind of real principles that we want to use here, is allowing the other guys to kind of get in each other's way. And not that we're creating that directly, but we're moving in a way and being in the right place to allow that to happen. Right, so as an example, we got two guys here, right? And just the idea of, again, before anything's happened, well, maybe I should be here. If I've got a choice, right? You can see now he's just naturally an obstacle to the other guy, right? He's in the way. You see in, again, it's funny to reference a movie, but in the, maybe it's the second Matrix movie, when they're in the playground scene, and the Agent Smith, there's one, the next thing there's 10, the next thing, more, and the guys are coming from everywhere. And while, yeah, we're not going to be running around doing superhuman things, that very principle's in there. You see the Agent Smiths basically getting in each other's way. That's realistic. That part is very, very realistic, right? So in doing that, maybe let's go back to this scenario here. It's, it's here, and he comes at that. Yeah, I want to put one guy in the way of the other, right? You see how I'm allowing one to play off the other there? So we want to utilize that, right? And again, there's no effort, there's nothing really from me there. I just have to strategically get out of the way. That's not even the right word. Strategically be in the right place consistently at an ever-changing situation there. Okay, give this a quick try. Roger. Played a couple of ideas with, so just slowly. The guy was over here, did our thing, we did something where, the guy was over on this side, and then, well, now what if, let's say the Roger's more back in this zone behind me here, right? So I gotta have that same idea of moving in a way that allows them to just get attached to each other, right? That's enough, and right? See how they just won't even here, there's still a certain, without doing anything, there's a certain coverage that's there. And then, take whatever, right? Take him out of the game, okay? So you might have that type of idea. Or again, back here, okay, I might be moving here, right? And then there, he's already there, and it's there, right? And here we're back to our kind of pushing. Actually, right over here. So you're going to really end up behind you. Take one more step, please. Give you a little chance. Right. But here, and just the idea of right, and disappearing out, right? So you got to think in 3 dimensions here. There might be the situation where that's the appropriate thing to do, right? So you got to be free here. Don't think in any one particular way, one dimension. It's, again, keeping yourself in the safe place, wherever that may be. Okay? So you don't have to go to the extreme of putting the person behind you, but try a couple different angles and see what develops here. Okay?
Vad kul hade varit om det hade duckat och alla hade inte.
So that timing is here, and yeah,
Gristungt det där kan jag säga.
The other one thing's talking about the way of using it attached to your hip. So if I'm going to thrust with this, much like Chino Waza, right, from the Chino, maybe you're going to be here and let this with your body and continue to thrust through, right? So he's going to thrust. You're going to thrust. Okay. And I'm just going to lift this straight up, right? So I'm not going to do too much. I'm just taking this. So my role is basically kind of hanging here natural and getting it to my body and letting it just come straight up here, right? At the same time, of course, I am also getting out of the way of the sword that's coming out. That's the number one most important thing, right? Okay, so just the idea of moving to here, right? That idea, very subtle. And then it's very similar to what we just did, boom, across here, and then now I've got the ability to basically bring it. Okay, one more time. Just kind of this, right? That's enough, right? And again, don't get my arm down here. Keep it in a nice, come on here, boom, through here, and then being able to threaten with that. Okay, get to that point. You see, is the thing happening isn't necessarily what's making it happen, right? So it's just there, and it drops, and then there, right? Then from there, now that I've got this command broken, it's easy for me if I need to move myself back this way, and thrust, and right? But you can see also how kind of this area of the sword pretty much stays between us the entire time. That's really the trick of this. It's kind of getting to here, and it's moving, and as I move, this area you'll see stays right there, right? And as I move again, it stays right there. Okay, try that. I just really want to raise the sword straight up and down. I'm not trying to do these arcing things, this, that, and the other, move it in and out. One more time. It's really not just straight up and down. It's just that fine of a shade that I'm looking for there. Then as I move over, this part replaces. I'm threatening here. As I move around, yeah, he's pretty much screwed here. If I hit with this, bam, whatever. Then I'm basically got myself in a safe spot there. What was my original point? Yeah, he's not moving the sword. Again, if I've got this line here, right, I'm just, well, even take that. I'm just moving the sword from here to here. There's no funny angles, nothing weird. Make the adjustment by moving your body out of the way. If we go slowly, move yourself to here. That's all I'm saying, right? Then do that same thing and just happen to raise the sword right in the right place, right? Then you can go, and see what's happening, right? And now I'm in a good spot where I can, bomb and boom, right? Okay? Got the idea? There, it's moving to that same place, get it started, but at that point, draw this back to this point, right? So now I'm attaching my hip from there, the ability, not with my arm, but with my body, to potentially put it up underneath here, or up underneath the armpit, or places that would be vulnerable if you had armor on, right? So just that idea of here, get it started, but in that moment, make the space there. I'm just covering a little bit. And at the same time, right, I can take the sword as well, because again, he gets fixated on a whole different area, right? Just that, and moving to here, and once he gets to here, he's so worried about this that he's going to forget about this, right? And then that's when the cut's there. Okay. And that idea I was talking about not going directly for something, it applies here, right? I don't want to go here and try to go straight for this elbow to do something. Yeah, see, there's a big problem there. He's pretty solid, right? So I need to do something indirect. Now I can do that, right? Whether I leave the sword here or whether I go back to what I showed the first time. From here, moving a little bit, and let the sword, yeah, that's really what I want to do right here. All right, so now it's in a place where you really can't see anything until it's too late, right? And in that moment, it's easy for me to take and, boom, and just right there where it's threatening. right? Bad idea, okay? If you see the difference, you gotta be just a little bit, you gotta be indirect, right? Again, sorry, I hope it's not too politically incorrect, but can I borrow you for 1 second? You just throw that down, right? We're in a bar somewhere, and there's an attractive woman over here. If I just come straight in and say, hey, you're a great looking woman, right? Absolutely. It's too direct, right? Where it'd be much better if I almost walked past her and say, excuse, do you have the time? Right, and then we start talking, and now we're in a nice close environment, and we've got a discussion started here by being indirect. It's the same principle. Right? Can you see that? That's what I like about this art. It's about being indirect, right? Don't go straight for it. It's going to be less effective. It's going to elude you. Even if she wanted me, if I go in like that, she's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. It's just her natural, instinctive response, right? Okay, so a little less direct. Thank you for participating. I just see his wheels turning a little bit, and all of a sudden we were over here, and it was like, boom, I can see he's got it. Now it's all of a sudden clicked. So can you explain just a little bit, and if you want to do it in Swedish, of course, it's fine.
Det var nog det med att vi började bara med rörelsen var ganska direkt ut, men jag gör en liten cirkelrörelse och får på något sätt vända mig emot, och det blev helt plötsligt min motståndare. Fast intentionen är egentligen lite bara, ja men, skit i det. Så att bara genom att, ja, när jag bara klev rätt ut åt sidan så helt plötsligt så, vad ska jag säga, jag lösgjorde mig från honom. Helt plötsligt så var jag inte beroende på vad han gjorde eller någonting, eller att jag försökte göra någonting, utan jag blev separat ifrån, det blev inte längre min motståndare. Och det var väl, det skulle vi inte slåss från början. Men hela tiden innan så har det bara lite om ridning eller lite intentionen har hela tiden varit att det är motståndare, men sen så släppte det lite grann.
So I'm going to say, can I borrow this one? No matter how much you get your body in the right place, if you still have a little bit of that mental connection there, it's going to affect your combine and your positioning there. It's going to necessarily affect it. It's not until, again, if I understood what we talked about beforehand, if it was the same, I think it was, that, you know, it's only once you can really completely let that go that you're really now free of the connection and of the chains that are put on you. You know, and somewhat related to the three-man thing about how, okay, one good person's weaker, and you attach the other person to them, even though they're in a healthy position, all of a sudden they're attached to somebody who's going down, who's drowning, they're both going to drown. And the reality is the same thing. If this guy's some evil, bad attacker guy, and I got some sort of connection to him, the reality is, despite the fact of my best intentions, I'm going to kind of get pulled down with him, right? So I've got to completely not have any connection on any level there. It just so happens then that if you're doing this at a higher level, there coincidentally is a ideal, perfect synchronization that you're not at the wrong place at the wrong time. More importantly, you are at the right place at the right time, right? Okay. So maybe this is probably a good place to wrap this up for today. Okay. So let's bow out and then you can make whatever announcements. So somebody's phone's down here. King Harmitsu Daikomyo. Yeah, I mean, thanks to each and every one of you for coming out today, and hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow. Sincerely appreciate the support and the opportunity to come here and to get my training in. And it means a lot to me. And obviously, number one, thank you to Roger and Arlie
vi lämnar redskap och sånt kvar. Säg till så ska vi se om vi kan låsa in dem i det förrådet där. Typ medial. Är det några frågor någonting? Okej, bra. Sorry, tomorrow at 10, of course.